I have seen in many lives and in my own that there comes a moment when the familiar bonds of connection begin to shift. A person who once smiled at you with ease now looks away. A friend's voice cools without explanation. Circles you once entered freely feel closed. This change can feel abrupt, almost as if affection has transformed overnight into resistance or even hostility. Yet these shifts rarely occur without cause. They emerge from deep movements in the unconscious, often invisible to both parties. When an individual begins to live more fully in their truth, when their inner alignment deepens, they cease to conform in ways they once did. This subtle change disturbs the unspoken arrangements on which many relationships depend. Others sense, perhaps without knowing, that you are no longer participating in the same shared illusions. The sudden dislike you feel is not always directed at your actions, but at what you now represent. Your transformation becomes a mirror. In it, others see what they have avoided within themselves. These shifts are rarely conscious. Most will not be able to explain why they feel unease in your presence. But the unease is real. It is the shadow they have not yet faced, stirred by the silent presence of your change. It is in these moments that one must remember the movement of individuation often brings both freedom and solitude. The path will not always be met with understanding. When a person suddenly begins to resist you, it is rarely because of something new you have done in the outer world. It is more often because of something they now feel in the inner world. The unconscious is sensitive to disturbance. Most people live within a fragile balance of beliefs, roles, and self-concepts. When you change, when your speech carries more conviction, when your posture reflects greater self-possession, when your silence no longer carries agreement, it unsettles that balance. To the unconscious of another, this change can feel like a threat. They do not see you as you are. They see what you awaken in them. This is the nature of projection. They attribute to you what they cannot accept in themselves. This process is not malicious in intention. It is automatic, but it is powerful. It can alter the way they speak to you, the way they respond in your presence, even the way they think of you when you are not there. What is essential to understand is that the sudden hostility is not truly about you. It is about the image you now carry in their psyche, an image shaped by their own fears, insecurities, and unintegrated shadows. If you mistake this for a personal failing, you will turn against yourself. But if you recognize it as a natural response to transformation, you will not be easily shaken. The unconscious reacts to truth the way the eyes react to sudden light, first with discomfort, then with the slow work of adjustment. When sudden dislike appears, it does not always arrive with open confrontation. More often, it takes the form of a silent war. No declarations are made, no direct accusations are spoken. It exists in the spaces between words, in gestures, in the quiet withdrawal of warmth. This silence can be more unsettling than open conflict because it is harder to name. The unconscious operates in this way, not with overt hostility, but with subtle signals that something has shifted. It is a form of psychic resistance, a quiet refusal to meet you in the place you now stand. This silent war is rarely about a specific event. It is about the change you embody. Your transformation disturbs the hidden agreements that kept the relationship in harmony. In their eyes, you have broken a contract that was never spoken but always assumed. The contract of staying the same. In many cases, those who turn against you cannot explain their discomfort. They may even believe their reasons are logical or justified. But beneath the surface, what drives their distance is instinctive. The psyche resists what threatens its familiar order, even when that threat is simply another person's growth. To navigate this silent war, one must resist the temptation to defend or justify oneself excessively. Explanation rarely soothes the unconscious. What is required instead is steadiness and acceptance that not all will walk alongside you as you continue toward deeper truth. To grow is to change, and to change is, in the eyes of some, to betray. This sense of betrayal does not always come from ill will. It comes from the way relationships are often built upon unspoken roles. You may have been the one who listened without question, the one who agreed without resistance, the one who kept the peace even at the cost of your own truth. When you begin to grow beyond these roles, the shift is not only internal, it is relational. Others feel the difference. You are no longer the same mirror they once looked into. And for some, this feels like abandonment. Your growth challenges their sense of security. It forces them to confront changes in themselves they may not be ready to make. The old dynamic in which they felt steady and sure is disrupted. In this disruption, the psyche often reacts defensively, sometimes through criticism, sometimes through withdrawal, sometimes through subtle resentment. This is why sudden hatred or rejection can appear so unexpectedly when you begin to live more truthfully. It is not the content of your actions, but the meaning they carry. Your refusal to remain in old patterns can feel to them like a betrayal of the relationship itself. It is important to see this clearly. Their reaction is not evidence that you have done wrong. It is evidence that growth, by its nature, alters the bonds we form. When the silent war begins, it is tempting to shrink yourself, to return to old roles for the sake of harmony. But this will only lead to resentment within yourself and will serve no one in the end. The task is not to prove your worth, nor to persuade those who resist your change. The task is to remain anchored in your truth while allowing others the space to respond as they will. Their reactions belong to them. You are not responsible for their comfort with your growth. Strength in this stage is not loud. It is not defensive. It is steady, patient, and clear. It does not demand that others accept your transformation, nor does it diminish your path to make them feel safe. You will find that some relationships cannot withstand the changes you have made. This is natural. As you move closer to your own authenticity, some will fall away. Not because of hatred in the pure sense, but because the connection has fulfilled its purpose. Others will adjust over time. Those who value truth more than comfort may come to respect the person you have become, even if they could not accept it at first. What matters most is that you do not abandon yourself in an effort to be less threatening to the unconscious of others. The path of individuation asks for courage, the courage to walk through the silent war without surrendering the progress you have made. In the end, those who remain will stand beside a truer version of you, and those who do not were never meant to accompany you into the life you are becoming.